You guys, I cannot believe that we are already at the end of 2021. It has been an amazing year here at Whiskey and Whit, full of a ton of projects and growth and just so much fun here in the DIY space on YouTube. So I thought it would be fun to do a quick rewind and revisit some of my absolute favorite projects, the best of the best from 2021. So stay tuned. If you're new here, this is Whiskey and Whit. My name's Whitney, and on this channel, I love to share DIY and budget home decor, tons of tips, tricks, and tutorials around getting a DIY home that you love on a budget. And so that's what all of these projects are going to be in this video. They are ones that you guys have loved, I have loved doing, and ones that I think are different than what you will see out there. We're gonna do today's video in a top 25 countdown style, so be sure to stay tuned till the end so you can see my #1 best project of 2021. I'm also gonna go pretty fast because I've got full tutorials of every project linked down in the description for you. Let's get started. Project 25 was a huge hit when I shared a bunch of thrift store makeovers. I found these Longaberger baskets for under 10 bucks each at my local thrift store. I just added some dark walnut wood stain to the entire thing. I used a small brush to get in any crevices and let it dry overnight. Then I had some updated dark wood baskets that fit my aesthetic, and it was a really affordable project. So many of you said you never thought of staining your baskets, so I wanted to share this again because it is a super fun and easy way to update baskets you either already have or ones you can get for cheap. 24 is this awesome Dollar Tree faux wood technique. I shared this earlier in 2021 and I have been using it for a variety of projects. I started with some large Dollar Tree black foam board for the background so it looked like chalkboard, and then I used some of their white foam board to cut out a border. I like to use a rotary cutter or an X-Acto knife when I'm cutting Dollar Tree foam board so you get these clean lines. I gave them all 45-degree angles so they would fit together, and because I did 2 signs, I marked them. Then the technique is a mixture of antique wax, breaking up the pieces of foam board so you get some cracks in there, adding a little bit of black chalk paint to kind of rough it up, and then adding some more antique wax to kind of buff it all out. I've got a full tutorial if you would like to make this, but the faux wood technique I think is awesome. There's a lot of different versions that people have done, and so this is just one of them. But I assembled those on like it was a wood border to my sign. And then I just added some botanical prints with my Cricut and my Expressions vinyl transfer tape. These are free files available over on my blog, which will be linked in the description as well. I hung them up with some jute twine and hot glue, and they are the perfect addition for everyday decor in my bathroom. I have a Boxwood wreath in my dining room, and I like to stage a lot of my signs on there, and it looks just like this, so I wanted to show you how you could get the look for much less than I even bought mine for. Now, I made this for Easter as a Kirkland's dupe, but you can do this for year-round, just don't add the carrots. You're going to need some picks from Walmart, and these are $1.97 for these pieces. I cut them all apart so I could put them where I wanted, and I started with floral wire to attach it to the wreath form, and that was a fail. So then I decided to just use some jute twine and tie them on. That worked perfectly. I just cut out the pieces, made like 2 or 3 piece groupings, and tied them on all around the wreath. This took me about 15 to 20 minutes, so it's a pretty quick project, and then I had a beautiful boxwood wreath. You can take some hot glue and stick the edges down if you've got any kind of going haywire, and then you can either leave it as is, or if you're looking for an Easter look, I just took some Dollar Tree carrots and added them with hot glue around the outside. My summer decor this year consisted of some peonies, some lemons, and then also lavender. So I wanted to create this DIY pillow, and it was so much easier with Dollar Tree supplies than I thought. So I started with some felt, and you can definitely get this at Dollar Tree, but I grabbed mine from Walmart because the sheet was 28 cents, which is cheaper than $1. Then I took my smaller hot glue gun and made a strip of glue along the outside edge of the strip. Then I folded it in half long ways, essentially creating an opening down the center. That is crucial because if you glue the whole thing down, your lavender won't work. Then on the side without the hot glue, so the side that is folded over, I took my scissors and cut some little fringe strips. Now be careful not to cut all the way through here. You just want the fringe. I took some Dollar Tree floral wire and I started with some hot glue, glued it, and then wrapped it around, and it started to create my lavender. Once your piece is done, use some more hot glue to finish it off. And then I did a little grouping of lavender to be hooked to my pillow. The pillow base is just a Dollar Tree baby blanket stuffed with some polyfill. To finish off the bottom of my lavender to cover up that wire, I used some jute twine and some hot glue, hooked it to the pillow. This isn't one you're going to want to lay on, but it's great for decorative purposes. Number 21 has such a special place in my heart because this year Finn turned 1 back in March, and so I decided to make over our house for our small little intimate birthday party. I made some awesome large Bluey cutouts. We did some DIY little cupcake toppers, banners, all the things. So if you've got kiddos that like Bluey, definitely check out that video. These big cutouts were my absolute favorite project that I made for this party. Finn loves them to this day. We get them out so he can check them out. They're life-size Bluey and Bingo. And I show you in that video how to easily do this with your Cricut. It takes a little bit of time, but it's really easy to put together and the kids will love it. Also, looking back on this video, it's hard to believe that sweet Mr. Finn is going to be 2 in March. Time has been flying. He was born right before the pandemic kind of took hold of everything. So time's just been a crazy thing, but I'm so glad I have these memories to look back on. Number 20 is another thrift makeover, and you guys loved these on my channel this year. They were some of my top DIYs, and I think it's because they're so simple and easy, and it's items you could find at any really thrift store or garage sale, etc. So I grabbed these two, and I started by spraying them with this Rust-Oleum textured spray paint. It has little bits of, I don't know, in it, but it's to make it look like stone. So I sprayed it on there to give it a texture first, let it dry, and then I finish it off with some matte black spray paint. I use these things for so many different decor ideas and vignettes throughout the year. They stay out for every season. They're even up right now for Christmas. So tons of different options, but these were under 10 bucks. They look very high end, very Kirkland's. And I just went through with some polyacrylic after I was done to make sure everything was sealed down. And I'm glad I did with how much I used them. These were such a win and such an affordable project. Let's hit pause for a quick second because I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of you that are here as subscribers of Whiskey and Wit. In this past year, I hit 100,000 subscribers here on my channel. It still boggles my mind that so many of you love to craft with me. I absolutely am so thankful that you are here and that you allow me to do something I love every day. So a huge thank you to all of you. I read all the comments. Those are such a fun part of what I do, getting to connect with you, seeing your projects, all of the stuff. So thank you for supporting me and my channel and subsequently my family. You will never know how thankful I am. Now let's get back into the DIYs. And then this is so cute. You guys know I absolutely love our mystery box challenges, and if you are new here, we do this every couple months. We send boxes to each other of hard and easy, just run the gamut of DIY supplies. And Jessica over at Jessica Lynn at Home sent me this box from Michael's summer clearance, and I knew I wanted to try to create a lantern similar to this Kirkland's inspo. So I broke out my jigsaw, did a ton of trial and error, but I was able to create this beautiful lantern that looked very similar to what Kirkland's was selling for much more. So I ended up using a shower curtain ring. I had some finial caps that I had left over from other projects, got that all together, and I absolutely love how it turned out. The biggest thing that warmed my heart about this project this year is so many of you told me that this got you inspired to break out your own power tools or even go out and get a jigsaw and try your own projects. So if this was you, please let me know down in the comments. I would like to celebrate you too and all that you accomplished in 2021. Back in May, Cricut revealed their new machines, the Explore 3 and the Maker 3, and I was really honored that they asked me to review it and share it with you guys. So one of the projects in that video that I did with their smart materials was this huge lumbar pillow, and I absolutely love it. It was really easy to put together. I just used a drop cloth from Walmart and cut it to a width that would fit on my bench in our room. Then I used Smart Iron-On from Cricut for this project so that I could show you how long of cuts you can make. If you are interested in getting a Cricut or have questions, I've got a ton of content around that, a full review on these new machines that cut matless, so be sure to check out that video. But I cut out this design, which is a free file. If you don't have one of the new machines, you could absolutely cut this in sections and then apply it. But then I weeded the whole thing out and applied it to one of my pieces of the canvas drop cloth, and then I just glued it together like I do all my other pillows, just in a larger version. And this thing looks great on our bed as well as our little bench in our room. And it also matches the font that I put on our wall in removable text. So lots of projects in that video. Be sure to go check it out. Now, I absolutely love Christmas and fall DIYs, but I also have been really getting into patriotic and Easter ones. So these Dollar Tree little eggs gave me inspiration when I was walking through the store this past spring, and so I decided to make them into a garland. I just grabbed them and a clamp and really carefully drilled some holes in either side of the bunny's head so that I'd be able to kind of string them up. I strung them up and hooked them onto a box and took them outside and spray painted them both gray and kind of a neutral color, but you could do whatever color that you want. After they were spray painted, the little tail looked a little odd to me. Like, I almost feel like I should censor this. So I decided to add a little pom-pom, and I'm so glad I did because it was super, super cute. I just made some quick pom-poms to be added to the garland, as well as adding some additional wood beads. If you don't know how to make a pom-pom, I've got a tutorial over on that video, but I strung them up and they look really cute in my bathroom, and they gave me similar vibes to my little stocking caps I made in 2020. We've been in our current house almost 5 years, and our master bedroom was one of the areas that I had not decorated. We didn't buy furniture, one of those out of sight, out of mind type things, and this year was the year we did it. So we made over our entire bedroom, including building a beautiful solid wood bed frame. I built nightstands, I did a blanket ladder, I updated a thrifted glider. Like, we did so many projects for this room, and I documented all of it. So this was such a fun project. I've got tutorials for everything, but this had to make the list because we worked so hard. So many great memories of Alex and I working together to make this room into something that we loved. So definitely one of my favorite projects from 2021, and I absolutely enjoy our bedroom so much more. It's such a sanctuary, and so much of it is DIY, and it has our vision all over it. Christmas is my absolute favorite season to DIY and decorate for, and I've got a few Christmas projects on this list, the first one coming in at number 15. This project was one of my 10 wood projects I shared for Christmas in July this year. This project used just a couple simple tools, including my jigsaw, to cut out the different pieces and assemble it. I've got the full slowed down version linked for you down in the description if you want to make this. I stained it with Briar Smoke by Varathane and then finished off my sled with some rope. Now, this is a great way to display different wreaths and other signs like I did here. I just took some ribbon and just stapled it to the back of my sled to hold my wreath. Or you can also staple on some jute twine and use some little clips to hold your Christmas cards, different prints, things like that. So I absolutely love how this turned out, and this is going to stay up well past Christmas this year. One of the biggest trends for 2021 is two-tone pottery. You saw it everywhere. Kirkland's, even Ray Dunn came out with a version with this darker stone on the bottom, but it could get really expensive. So I ventured to my thrift store to see if I could get the look for a lot less. So I grabbed these 2 jars that were the same grouping, one smaller, one larger, and I started by spray painting them with white flat spray paint just to neutralize everything. Then when the white was dry, I took some painter's tape and did the best that I could to get a straight line across the bottom. Since I've posted this video, so many of you suggested electrical tape as well. I've used that as well because it's a little stretchier, so you could use either. Then I used some more painter's tape to hook on just a cut up little grocery bag, just so then that way when I was doing the second tone at the bottom, it wasn't going to smear everywhere. Then my first coat was this satin taupey color to get the base. Then I followed it up with some stone textured spray. And then if you're going to be doing more wear and tear on these, you can also seal them with a polyacrylic. But these I made for under $10 for the set, and they look just like something that you would buy at Kirkland's or even higher end stores for much, much cheaper. 2021 was full of a lot of firsts for me, and one of them was decorating and DIYing bee decor. I do a lot of lemons, lavender, different flowers, but I hadn't done bee decor. And so when Lisa over at Living My Best Life with Lisa Marie asked me to be a part of a collab, I said absolutely. And I made a ton of different projects with this faux honey. I ended up doing it with a hot glue gun and some golden glue sticks I got from Amazon. This stuff looks super real. I also got some of these little honeycomb sticks, but these are from Amazon as well. I made a ton of cute projects in Decor, and so just shout out to that whole video as a top project because it was the first time I had done any of that, and I love how it turned out. Now, I know a lot of you have found me via Cricut content, but I wanted to share with those who don't have a cutting machine how to create a custom pillow like this. I grabbed 2 Dollar Tree canvas bags and cut off the back piece because they are just plain fabric. You could also do what I did in a previous project in this video and use a canvas drop cloth and use that as fabric as well. Then I created my pillow outline. I glued around the outside except for a little space so that I could stuff it, and then I flipped it inside out so I had seams. Then I cut out this really pretty line drawing of a peony and put some tracing paper from Arteza behind it. Then I went through and traced the entire thing, and that is going to transfer an outline of this peony to my pillow. Then once that was on my pillow, I just used a fine point Sharpie to trace over it, and it looked so good. I stuffed it with some stuffing from an old pillow, and then I just made some tassels for the 4 corners, glued them in, and this turned out so nice. I love how it looks with my black and white decor that I already have in my living room. You could do this with letters, you could do this with different sayings, tons of different options and ways that you can get this look without a cutting machine. Earlier this year, I was browsing online and I saw some of these really pretty jar candles, but I was not going to spend $65 on a candle. So I decided to head to the thrift store again, and I found some really cool different vessels that I could make into jar candles. You can look for different little pitchers, different glasses, and also be sure to look at different levels because I squatted all the way down and found this beautiful white and blue container that I knew would be perfect for a 3-wick candle. I got it home and cleaned it out, and then I melted some of this soy wax that I got at Hobby Lobby, as well as some of this baked apple scent. I also made sure to grab some wicks when I was at Hobby Lobby because I would need those to make my candle. I dumped my wax into a glass container and microwaved it until it all melted per the instructions on the pack. I added some scent to it, mixed it up, and then added my wicks with some hot glue to the bottom of my container. Once that hot glue cooled, I just poured in multiple layers of the wax using other things here like a paintbrush and other things to hold up the wicks. Once everything kind of coagulates and cools, you can trim your pieces, and then you've got a really pretty candle that is decor on its own, but then you can also burn it and have it make your house smell like apple or whatever scent. There's so many scents out there that you want it to be. This Patriotic project was a huge favorite of you guys this past year, and this is a Dollar Tree DIY. A bulk of this project is Dollar Tree wooden dominoes. I went through and just trimmed off a little bit of the bottom of all of them so that it looked like an ice cream bar. And then I went through with some paint. I did some fully red, some white, some blue, and then I used some painter's tape to create one that was red, white, and blue. Now, apparently the crafting gods didn't like me this week because I went to Dollar Tree to get some actual popsicle sticks and they didn't have them. I got so many questions on this video as to why did you not use just actual popsicle sticks? Well, it was because I went to 3 Dollar Trees and they didn't have them. So I made do and use some little dowel rods. These are Dollar Tree ones I cut up, but you could absolutely use popsicle sticks. Pop some hot glue on the back and glue them down. The last thing I did was create a little loop on the back with felt so that I could then string them up. I strung them all up with some little wood beads. And they looked so cute and patriotic on my mantle. When I think of summer, I think of ice cream and 4th of July, and this just nails it all. Now, I could not talk about 2021 without mentioning our Boston trip. This past fall, a group of us YouTube DIYers met up, and it was definitely the highlight of my year. And we ended up visiting Salem, and so that got me really into making a ton of hocus pocus and Halloween DIYs for my house this year. So 2 of them are these pallet signs. My neighbor had some extra pallets from a project that he didn't need, and so he let me have them, and I created some different versions of the same pallet sign. So how to build the sign will be over in that video, but I was able to follow a picture online and I freehanded this. And you guys, I'm not a freehand painter. I just followed the image. So it's pretty easy to put together of the Sanderson sisters. I painted the hair, the face, the quintessential and iconic lips of all of them, the little mole for Sarah Sanderson, the black hair for Mary, and of course the teeth for Winifred. And I love how this turned out. My last step was just to make sure that everything was sealed, and this thing lasted so well through Halloween, and I will be using it next year. I use the same process for this trick or treat sign. That is in our Boston vlog video, so I will link that if you want to see the adventures that we had while we were in Boston. Now this one I knew had to make the list because this is one of my favorites as well from this year. And I found this RV in the Target Wonder Shop this year, and I thought this would make a perfect Cousin Eddie RV from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. If you've been around a while, you know that's my favorite Christmas movie, and I do those DIYs every year. This is one of 20 projects that I have in a video. I just went through, covered up the pieces that I didn't want to spray paint, so basically the wheels, spray painted the whole thing white, gave it a nice blue stripe, and then I started distressing with some antique wax as well as some brown paint to give it the rust color. I added some additional features, which are all shown in that slowed down version. I stuck the lights back on that originally came with it, and this is such a great addition to my Clark Griswold theme, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation bathroom, and it was a $20 DIY that I will use for years to come. Number 7 is another mystery box item. I absolutely love doing the mystery boxes because it really stretches my creativity because I have to use items. One of the challenge items I had to use was this bottle from Dollar Tree. I decided to cut off the bottom, glue it to this little succulent tray she also sent me, and put the bottle cap on top. I spray painted the whole thing matte black, and it started to look like a metal light. I added some Dollar Tree little wire and spray painted that black as well. And then I created an entire frame for it to hang from. I framed that out, and then I finished it off by putting a little press light in it, and it is still in our hallway to this day. We use it, it's functional. This is such a great outcome to what I thought was one of the hardest challenge items that I have received. Because I made this tray for Finn, it absolutely has a special place on this list, and it is this Santa Treats tray. This one is actually a Kirkland's dupe. They had something similar on their website for much more, and I decided to use some scrap wood I had in the garage. Now, if you don't have scrap wood, I wanted to remind you of the value wood section. This is at Menards, but Home Depot and Lowe's and all the other ones have similar areas. They've got some wood that they've cut down for customers that they didn't end up needing, or scraps, and they want to get rid of them. So you could get a piece like that for about $3. I sanded it down and stained it. I also found some hardware, and I cut out a stencil on my Cricut that is a free download over on my blog, so you can get this file and make this yourself. I applied the stencil, which I weeded backwards, so I'm just weeding out the areas where I want the paint, as you can see, instead of the outside. And once that stencil is down on your wood, I like to use some Mod Podge to make sure that my stencil is going to be sealed down so that I don't have bleeding. Once that Mod Podge is dry, you want a thin coat, then you can go through with a disposable makeup sponge and dab on some acrylic paint. I'm using white here, and I prefer acrylic paint for this method versus chalk paint. I peeled off my stencil, added a thick layer of some polyurethane to make sure that if you've got crumbs or stuff, you can wipe it off easily and it will be sealed. I wouldn't put any like deli meat or cheeses on this. It's not that food safe, but if you're putting little crackers or anything on it, or Santa treats, you could totally do that. I measured and drilled holes where my little handles should go. These are from Home Depot. And then it's ready for prime time for Christmas Eve. You can use the same concept for things year round. You could put people's last name on it and make a great gift. You could also put this in your guest room and put welcome on it. There are a ton of different options, but it's pretty easy to put together. You just need some scrap wood and some handles. This past summer, I was on the hunt for an Americana blanket I could put on this blanket ladder, and I could not find one less than $50. So I decided, hey, what if I use these handkerchiefs from Dollar Tree and see if I can make one myself? Well, it worked out so well. I was able to create this huge blanket for under $10. Look at how tall I am. I'm 5'11", and you just need some of Dollar Tree scarves or handkerchiefs. I first went through and laid them all out in the pattern that I wanted and made sure that everything was where it needed to go. And then I started by stitching each piece. Now I decided to use a blanket stitch, and I am not a good teacher of any type of sewing, so I will link the tutorial down below for a blanket stitch. But I just watched a Netflix show, matched up my edges, and stitched them together with just some white yarn. When I was done, I also went around the whole outside with another blanket stitch so the ends looked finished. This thing is awesome. It was such a great budget project and it looked awesome for the Patriotic season on my blanket ladder. All right, friends, if you're still with me, you got to leave me an emoji down in the description. Why don't you leave me a heart and let me know that you have stuck with me this long. So I absolutely love these faux gingerbread cookies I made this Christmas, and the salt dough recipe that I used with cinnamon is super easy. 2 cups flour, 1 cup salt, 1/4 cup of cinnamon, and then you gradually add 3/4 cup of water bit by bit so that you get a dough consistency like this. You can then roll it out. You can cut it with a butter knife like I did here for houses. You can also use cookie cutters. It's just like a regular sugar cookie dough at this point. And then to cure them so they're able to last all season long, I put them in the oven for about an hour at 250 degrees, and then I let them dry out the rest of the way overnight so it didn't lose all of that cinnamon pigment. Then I used some tulip puffy paint and pulled up some images of some cute gingerbread cookies that I liked online, and I recreated with the different elements that it showed. Then I let those dry for a couple hours. It's going to dry hard but 3D so it looks like icing, and you are good to go. In that same vein, I would be remiss if I didn't mention my fun little faux marshmallows. These I found work best with Crayola's Model Magic. You can take a little bit of this kid-specific clay. It won't stick to your hands, but it will harden and still be a little squishy, which is awesome. It's the consistency of marshmallows. Shape it to whatever size marshmallow you want, and then you can leave them as is for like a hot cocoa bar edition, or you can do what I did and take some paint pens and add some cute little snowman faces. These have been a huge hit in my family. I've made a ton of these for gifts this holiday season. So quick and easy. You just need overnight dry time and they are ready to go. All right, final 2. Did you guess that this would be up at the top of the list? I hope so, because you guys loved this project. These are my faux pumpkin pie slices from Dollar Tree auto sponges. I started by creating some little triangle pieces the size of pie slices, and I also cut them in half so they weren't as tall, so I basically got 2 out of each triangle from the auto sponge. When that was done, I used some orange chalk paint and made sure to coat the entire piece so then that way it kind of had that spongy consistency of pumpkin pie. Once that was dry, I added some antique wax, and you can see on the right there, it gives it that kind of fresh from the oven browning. And then I took some scrap burlap to create the crust. You could use whatever you have on hand. This is just what I had at my house. I wrapped it around so then it was one continuous piece of crust from the bottom up the back side. Gave that a trim, and then I mixed a little bit of Dollar Tree spackling with a little bit of water and a little bit of white acrylic paint. Mixed it up right there in the container. And then I just trimmed a little bit off the bag so it was a faux piping bag, and I added some cute little dollops of whipped cream that would harden overnight to my pumpkin pie pieces. I made one big piece that would be just for display, and then I also used a dowel needle to string up the rest of the pieces, and that allowed me to get this really cute garland. I finished it off with just some scrap pieces of fabric that I got from Hobby Lobby, and this thing was such a hit. I know so many of you recreated it. I also had friends that recreated it on their YouTube channels. It was such a fun project, and it's every once in a while an idea comes along that you're like, I've never seen someone else do anything remotely close to this. And so I was really excited when I saw those sponges and thought of this idea one day in the middle of Dollar Tree. All right, you have made it to the end, and I'm wondering if you guessed what my number 1 project would be. It is a Cricut project, but it's so much more than that. This past summer, I was able to partner with Cricut to give my mom, who is a kindergarten teacher, a full classroom makeover, and it would just be silly if this was not number 1. This was such a huge labor of love for me to be able to give back to my mom, who has taught for over 20 years. I come from a family of educators, and so when Cricut asked if I wanted to give back to a teacher, I knew exactly who I wanted to give back to, and it was awesome to get control of her room for an afternoon, be able to make some custom projects for her using my Cricut, and just really kick off the school year on a high note, because it has just been a crazy
couple years for everyone, but especially educators trying to, you know, teach our kids and prepare them for the next stage of life and not know what's next. So I was able to update her desk for her. I did a ton of different projects. This is one of those you definitely want to go see the full video to get the full effect. I surprised her at the end because Cricut sent her a machine and it was just the absolute best. She was so excited. Cricut sent you a brand new machine, all the vinyl, so you can, I'll teach you how to use it, and you can make your own labels and decals and stuff.
In a heat press?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can make kids t-shirts?
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Very neat. This is awesome. Thank you.
And here's a quick before and after. This was the highlight of my year.
Thank you so much for watching and taking this quick trip down memory lane with me to kind of do a 2021 in review. This will be my last video that will hit my channel here in 2021, taking some much needed time off with family. I wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas if you celebrate, if not, happy holidays in general, and thank you again for all the support in 2021. If you're new, be sure to hit subscribe because I've got so many fun new ideas coming your way in 2022. Again, a huge thank you for supporting my channel, and I will catch you guys in the new year. Bye!